Hi everybody, Mature Simmer. Welcome back here to Reentry, Spaceflight Simulator. Going back into the Academy, Project Mercury lessons, and now we're going to do Lesson 4, Electricity. I'm thinking some of these should be a little shorter, so we'll see how they lay out. In this lesson, we will learn about the electrical power system, EPS, in the Mercury capsule. Well, that was a sound. Assuming maybe we're up in orbit. Not sure. Still preparing the cockpit state. There we go. We are in orbit. Welcome to the electricity lesson. In this lesson, we'll take a quick look at the various systems and components related to the electrical power system. All right. Weird little line there in the imaging. Interesting how that works. Before we start, we will make a quick reconfiguration of the autopilot, as we will be depowering important components which the autopilot ASCS depends on. Set the ACS mode to aux on. And don't worry, we will cover what all of this really means in the reaction control system lesson. In short, this disables the ASCS auto attitude mode we are currently in. Alright, so we're going to turn it to aux on. The Mercury space capsule comes with an electrical system that is capable of producing both DC and AC electricity. DC direct current is supplied by 6 rechargeable silver zinc batteries, each and operating at approximately 24 volts. Why can the volts differ from the nominal approximately 24 volts? The current electrical load, amps, and battery capacity, how full is the battery, can make the volts read out somewhere between 23 and 27. The main batteries are connected to the main DC bus. The main DC bus is responsible for distributing electrical power to most of the onboard systems. 3 of these batteries are wired in parallel and are considered your main batteries. Should your main batteries fail, you have a backup standby battery, 2 wired in parallel, standby 1 and 2 there, that will keep you powered for a while. The last battery is called the isolated battery and is used to give power to your very important squibs. The squibs are the pyrotechnics for separation and jettison. You can check the status of the batteries by using the DC volts gauge. The main batteries, standby batteries, and main bus should ideally show a voltage of 24 to 27, while the isolated battery should show 29. As mentioned, this might vary slightly based on system load. By rotating the DC select knob, you can switch between each of the batteries. For example, you can set to standby 1 to see the status of the standby battery. A low voltage on one of the batteries is a good indication that something is wrong with it. If this happens, it's a good idea to switch over to the standby batteries for safety and turn off the battery. Let's pretend battery 1 is broken and showing a low voltage. First, switch over to the standby battery. This is done by setting the standby battery switch to on. It will connect the standby batteries to the main DC bus. Alright, so now we have amps on them. The switches that connect the batteries to the electrical system is located on the left and right side of your seats. They can be hard to reach, but set main 1 to off. Alright, I see isolated. Let me zoom out, because somehow, interesting. How do I, okay. Alright, so main 1 is off, okay. When you are in the standby batteries, you need to conserve power. You will not do this now, but this is done by shutting down systems you don't need, like the blood check, ASCS, the lights, etc. A flashlight is always available and can be toggled by using F. The flashlight will look in the direction of the view, but will also follow the mouse cursor. Try to enable the flashlight and move the mouse cursor around, then turn it off. An important detail is that all flight modes that operate the two reaction control systems used to orient the capsule, covered in the next lesson, are based on DC power except for something called manual propulsion manual mode. You can take a note somewhere that if you are having issues with your electrical system, use this flight mode to still be able to control the capsule. If you are having issues with the standby batteries as well, see a low voltage on one of its batteries, you have one final option: to connect the isolated battery to your main bus. This is done by setting the ISO switch to standby. The ISO battery will then power the main bus in parallel with any other, if any, batteries connected to it. Again, turn off all the systems that you don't need to keep you alive. Alright, so let's see. ISO is way up there. Alright. You can use the DC amps gauge to see how much power you are consuming. You should avoid using the isolated battery this way at all costs. If you have to, try to wait until you are preparing for reentry, as the main bus load will quickly drain the isolated battery. The source of the ammeter is controlled by the same selector used for the DC volts gauge. Let's get back to our original state. Set the standby battery to off. Reconnect main battery 1. Alright, so we're going to need to pop over there. Main battery 1. And isolate battery to norm. The ASCS and fans require AC alternating current electricity. AC is generated from DC by using inverters. We have one AC inverter that provides 250 volts at 400 Hz to the ASCS system, one AC inverter that provides 150 volt amperes for the fans, and one final standby inverter that can provide 250 volt amperes for either the ASCS or the fans. I am never going to remember that. You can check the status of the AC system by using the AC gauge. The AC volts should read between 110 and 125. Alright. You can rotate the AC knob to see the status for each inverter. Ensure it is set to fans for now. If one of the inverters goes down, the standby inverter... Whoops. I'm toggling my switch. You can control what AC bus for the ACS by setting the ACS bus to either standby, off, or norm. Keep it at norm. Oh, okay, then that's the audio bus. Where's the standby bus? Oh, okay. Alright. You can also control what AC bus to use for the fans by setting the fans AC bus. Oh, I see, ACS norm. To status, keep it at norm. Having fans selected on the AC volts knob, you can see that it is powered correctly by having the voltage show 120, 110 to 125. Set the AC selector to standby. Okay. Nothing is connected to the standby inverter, so it should read 0 volts. Set the fan AC bus to standby. Notice the fans are now powered by the standby inverter. You can do the same for the ACS. The standby inverter can power both the ASCS and the fans. However, to avoid overloading the system, shut down all systems that are not critical for the ASCS. Set the fan bus switch to norm. Then set ASCS AC switch to norm, which it is. Let's finish by talking about power consumption. Make sure the ammeter is set to main. Power consumption should always be on your mind. As mentioned, the power consumption by your systems can be read on the ammeter. Try to set the ACSC switch to off and notice the impact on the ammeter. Okay, definitely went down. The maneuver switch on the lower left side of the panel, other side, okay, is used to turn on or off the gyros. Setting this to off will also reduce power consumption. Check the ammeter. Alright. Fuses are also a way to turn off systems. Most systems have one or many fuses connected to it. Each fuse switch has 3 positions, 1, off, and 2. Each system connected to a fuse has a primary fuse 1 and a backup fuse 2. Locate the highlighted programmer fuse and set it to the middle position. If a system isn't working, ensure the fuse is set to 1. If the system is still not functioning, set the fuse to 2. The number 2 position can be a second fuse, or in some critical systems, is a solid conductor to ensure positive continuity. If the Mercury Flight Manual panel overview, the fuses marked in gray has a solid connector. Pay good attention to the various battery states, power consumption, and react as soon as you see something out of the ordinary. Electricity produces a lot of heat, so pay attention to the cabin temperature indicator to avoid unpleasant situations like an electrical malfunction or smoke or fire. In the mission pad checklist, you will find a dedicated section for emergencies called Emergency Procedures. Find this section now. Let's find the electrical power system. Oops. Alright, let's find the electrical power system emergency procedure. Okay. Open the Orbit Emergency Checklist and scroll down to the electrical power system. Environmental. Okay. Electrical system. Alright. I would recommend getting familiar with this section as part of your EPS training. So, alright, failure of one of the main batteries every 30 seconds. If any battery shows 18, turn the battery off. If main bus voltage is below 18, check all the bus, turn off all low priority equipment. The only indication of standby battery failure will be by periodic checks. If standby is detected, turn that battery off. If the main batteries also fail, place the audio bus switch to emergency to permit the isolated battery to maintain communications. The isolated battery also supplies the isolated squib bus. Oh boy. If the main batteries also fail, if radios are needed, audio bus switch to emergency. Okay. Isolated battery. Complete electrical failure. Failure of the ammeter or the ammeter switch can cause complete electrical failure by removing the ground for all capsule batteries. If all capsule power is suddenly lost, place the ammeter switch to bypass to provide an alternate ground for the batteries. Goodness gracious. I hope that doesn't ever happen. There's the ammeter switch bypass. Okay. And then inverters. Alright. Anyway, feel free to play around with the various systems, learn where the fuses are as well as what the various switches do. This way you can instruct control of the various systems during emergencies. You can buy instinct control. That's all for now. Bye. Alright, not bad. So, as always, we're progressing along here. Hope you're enjoying the journey as much as I am. As always, if you did enjoy the video but haven't dropped a like or are not a subscriber, please consider those things, and I will see you next time.